Life in Australia can look very comfortable. Building something on your own, that's a different challenge. What did life actually feel like at that time?
When I came with $4,000, literally starting life from scratch.
That time, how were you able to handle that pressure?
Vision in mind, hunger in the belly.
The pressure is not just financial, it's emotional, and it can break you.
When the student is ready, teacher appears. And
How were you able to handle that pressure?
and once I was outside of the comfort zone, I've made sure I never fall back into the comfort zone again. Feel that relationships fuel the fire and desire that you have inside. Not onboard a client if I don't see if I see a value mismatch. I don't onboard friends if I see a value mismatch. More transparent people are, the more blunt they are. We were a lower middle class when we started. The first three levels are survival, pleasure and desire. Follow people who have achieved something that you're looking to achieve.
From the outside, life in Australia can look very comfortable. House, family, job, and comfort. But behind the scene, many migrants carry silent pressure. Being the provider, raising children, building security, and still trying to connect it to their roots. And on top of it, building something on your own, that's a different challenge. And on that, today, we are speaking on that journey. But before we start, we'd like to thank 24 Pots and Alka Satapathy for creating this platform for us to communicate with you guys. So I want to start with Ashish ji. Thank you for joining us. And Ashish ji, take us this journey with you, that you work in IT, young family, single income, responsibilities everywhere. What did life actually feel like at that time?
Look, when I came with $4,000, literally starting life from scratch. So yeah, life was tough. I remember at times getting down from the station, dragging 32 kilo bags. The one lucky thing that has happened to me is that I've come with a job. So, but then yeah, just personal trips, dragging those 32 kilo bags, just huffing, puffing like anything. Because back at offshore, I had never walked anyway.
Yes, yeah, I can understand. It's a very different overhead compared to back in India.
Absolutely. So look, it wasn't easy, and with a lot of dreams, vision in mind, hunger in the belly to achieve something and do more. That's what the initial days looked like. I even waited 1.5 years to buy my first car because I wanted to buy all cash.
Okay.
So that vision, since beginning, I was more concerned about the financial future than anything else. And I won't lie, I've given a lot of things in the first couple of years to be where I am today.
I think a lot of migrants can relate to this thing as well with you. They don't say it out very loud, but they also go through the same journey.
And look, as they say, everyone's fighting their own battles, and it's not good to judge anyone. Be polite, and you never know who's doing what. We have Friday drinking sessions at our office, and at times just our clients sometimes join, different professionals join. There's a lot going on in everyone's life, and I just get the opportunity to speak, but there's a lot of you who don't. So if you want to have a chat, come over to the office on Fridays, 3:30 p.m. and have a couple of drinks and just chit-chat.
I can get those Friday sessions because when everything depends on you, the pressure is not just financial, it's emotional, and it can break you.
Yes. I remember the birth of separate thinking. So when I came, again, as I've said, there was a vision. I started exploring what can be done. And this is where I realized, they say when the student is ready, teacher appears. And a mentor who was just sitting beside me in one of the IT trainings that I was doing. And there was no looking back from there. So I kept on buying properties. So first 3 years, I think I bought about 4 properties already, really reasonably priced properties. And I was seeing the change, and my lame goal was just to get $100 positive each property each week, and after 5 properties I was virtually rent free. But then 2017 was the pivot. which led me thinking I should add more income streams. And 2017 was when I was asked to move back offshore because I was still an offshore-based employee, and I didn't want it to. And my wife she left her job. So initially it was only me working, and my wife got a job, and then my younger one was 3 weeks. My wife was on maternity leave, and she was a contractor, so she left her job, and I was also asked to move back offshore. So, and I said that's not the right time to say irrespective, but I was told, oh, you know what, we didn't say earlier because we thought it was the wrong time. And I said, the time's never right this way. Those 3-4 months added a bit of pressure, but then there was also the birth of me exploring more options to see what I can do on the side. Because one job, it wasn't the greed, but one job wasn't going to cut it off. Any day you can be asked to move back, move out. And that's where there's a book, I remember reading it. It's called The Cash Flow Quadrant, where from Robert Kiyosaki, where they split the book in 4 quadrants, and the right top quadrant is left top quadrant is the employee quadrant, and then the right top quadrant is the investor quadrant. So anyone can jump into the investor quadrant, which I already started. This book I read in 2017 itself. Since then, I've been reading one book every 2 months on an average. So then left bottom quadrant is the small business quadrant, where employee quadrant is the least tax effective or efficient quadrant. And then with investments, you start to explore more ideas to claim back tax or the taxable income that you're paying. And then with small business, it gets better with tax efficiency. And then the whole journey till date has been to move from the employee quadrant to investor quadrant and to going to the big business, where the only difference between small business and big business is that a big business runs itself even when you step aside. And that's been my last 9 years journey now. It has taken time, but it has paid off as well.
Well, and how were you able to get this knowledge? Because you said that you were going through this tough phase of being told to move to offshore and the young family. That time, how were you able to handle that pressure? And still at the same time, you had the properties. How were you handling it? Did you have to move back, or how did you come out of that pressure situation?
Look, I've been blessed that I'm very driven in what I do. And at that point, the only option I had after 3-4 months, we were building 2 properties, so there were costs going out as well. My wife wasn't earning. With the younger one, it adds expenses. Look, it's a blessing, but it comes at a cost. And after 2-3 months, I realized if this is going to be the way, I have to do something else. So I started doing Uber at that point. And my wife started searching for a job, and she still tells me it was because of me, because she was planning to have a 12-month leave, which she couldn't. And she got a job in, I think, after 2 months of searching first. So she joined it, and 5th month, I'm taking care of my younger one. We put him to a childcare when he was 4 months, but literally after a week, we both were crying because it wasn't going well.
Wow. Okay.
So I stayed home more like a stay-home dad for about 1.5 months. And in that time frame, my younger one, he started to call me mum. So, look, good times. I haven't regretted a single time. I've spent really good time with family, but that's why I've been always very driven, very just going. And once I was outside of the comfort zone, I've made sure I never fall back into the comfort zone again. So I'm always striving to achieve more. It's not because of greed. It's just that hunger in the belly to do more, to achieve more, to give more. And that's pretty much have been my motto all throughout the life.
Very true. I think the success always look very simple from the outside, but inside it's never been simple. It's a journey that one has to take. And you have to be very mentally and physically strong to get out of that situation and achieve what you wanted in life.
I'm always telling clients as well, just a few days back, I think my younger one got upset. He was recently He was selected in his school soccer team, and it was a gala day, so it was 10-minute matches. So he got an opportunity to play all the matches except the finals, and he was very upset. 2 hours, literally, just put his head down, just dragging his feet all along. And we went somewhere to eat. He was still a bit sad, and I said, "You can't get upset over something that you can't control, or it's not in your control. What happened, and now what's in your control is your next few matches, which you're going to ruin because you're upset, or you're going to ruin your health either way." I tell my clients the same thing. We sometimes get upset over just smaller things which were not even in our control. So you try to focus on what's in your control and leave the rest to the higher being, and just keep going with it. So, but I think we don't realize that at times.
So in this journey from where you were at that point of time and now where you are, how did your family support it? Were you able to spend the same amount of time? Did they still call you mom, your kids?
Look, I think I get a lot of support from them. And this is where a balance has to be achieved. You can't scale up outside and have broken relationships inside. So I do feel that relationships fuel the fire and desire that you have inside. So I try to maintain a balance between health, well-being, relationships, family, managing a team, running a business, doing side gigs while running the business. I believe my family has gone through a lot. My wife, I've got one. I've been trained well in last 16 odd years. I've got 2 boys, 15 and 9. They understand I'm not available most times. They understand when I'm on holidays, I'm on calls. But when they're interrupting, I'll make sure I'm not angry at them. At one time, my elder one said, "You know what, I don't call you because you don't pick up my calls." And I said, "I'll make sure I pick up your call, but you don't overuse or abuse the power that I'm giving you, because I am busy." Sometimes I'm in back-to-back calls for literally 6 hours.
Yes.
And my PA is giving me water or tea at times. So, and I said, "You call me once and I'll pick up. Just, it should be urgent though." So we have a policy, otherwise they'll call mom. My wife as well, she does a job, she manages home, she does manage kids at times. I'm taking them to sports, so Monday, Tuesday and Thursday, my younger one sports, Friday, my elder one sports. In between we find time. Thursday I go for badminton. Friday now I've enrolled them to gymnastics. So it's like our family is very sports oriented. My elder one does calisthenics and just some weightlifting. I run. That just clears up my mind. So I think in all of this, there's a lot of support that you get from families, and I'm sure it's the same with everyone. Because if there's something broken in there, I don't think I would do well outside either. Whatever I do it because I get that support. If I don't have that support, who am I doing it for? I don't know.
Well, they must be very proud of you with the way the things were and how it turns out. And I'm sure the way that you respect your family, you work with them, you distribute the work. Is it the same way, the same culture you do it with your clients, your customers?
Look, it's a one big family. I'll not onboard a client if I don't see if I see a value mismatch. I don't onboard friends if I see a value mismatch. If someone's doing something that I don't like, for example, I was working with someone and that guy always speaks ill of others. If he can do that to others, he can do that to me as well.
100%.
I won't call distance. We still talk. We still have fun at times, but I try to maintain certain boundaries. And it's the same. Once there was someone talking to me and they wanted to engage my services, and I said, "I'm going to send you my values and mission and vision and see if that aligns." I said, "Oh, just cut the crap. You're charging for your service. I want the service. That's all that matters." And I said, "No, it doesn't. I'm sorry. The way we're talking, I don't think we're going anywhere. It's important you see who you're working with. And I would not like to work with anyone. I'd like to sit with you for at least 45 to 60 minutes, understand where you are in the journey and where you want to be, and see where I can come in and support. If you can't spend that time, I don't think I'm the right person for you." So I think it's very important. And one thing that I've learned is doesn't matter if it's your employees, if your business partners, if it's your friends, you be clear in your expectations and let them be clear on theirs. And the more transparent people are, the more blunt they are, the better the relationship's gonna be. It's going to add a lot of ups and downs in the conversations, but it's better to have those ups and downs initially than to have later when you are deep in certain initiative with them. So yeah, just it's very similar with team, family, clients, business, friends, everywhere.
Your kids are studying and they're learning in Australia. By living here, what are the 3 values you will tell them to never lose, no matter how successful they will become?
That's a very good question.
Because sometimes when we come here as a migrant, I see myself as well. We get away from our roots, our culture, and we get into this fast-paced environment, and we start losing our own things. But the values that you spoke about earlier, that you came from a very tough situation, but you never lost your values. You could have been onboarding any customer, any client, but you stick to the values. And I think the same values, and I'm pretty sure your parents had played a very important role in your life, and those values must have been passed on from them as well. That's why you're taking them along with your life in this journey. And those values, how important are for yourself, and we know it's important for you, but how those important for your kids as well?
Look, I'll start with how I've grown. We were a lower middle class when we started. I remember our first, my granddad had a bicycle, and then I had a small seat in front of the bicycle, and those things that you pull out to keep your feet on it. I remember our first moped, or Luna at that point.
Yes, Luna,
it was
I remember.
called, and I used to sit in the front.
Yes.
And then we bought a Kinetic, and then when I started college, I bought a Bajaj Chetak.
My grandfather had Luna. I still remember that. We used to sit behind it, and it's so lightweight, and the big tall tires.
Yeah. So, and I started job very early, and there was a point when I was standing with a sort of a sign in my hand in Sector 17 in Chandigarh, and with about people who were working with me. We used to be paid initially when I started 25 rupees an hour, $100 or $2 for 4 hours, and then later on in 2 years I was at a point where I was getting 100 rupees an hour. Plus I was bringing more people in, and I was paying them $75 and keeping 25 rupees there. Sorry, dollars, not rupees. So we've come from a humble background. I remember my first car, we bought a used Centro, which gave a lot of pain. My first brand new car was in 2021, which was a Land Cruiser Prado. And I didn't want to buy that. My wife said, if not now, then when? And she's pretty practical on those terms. So I think we were a good combination. So the point is, I had to wait a lot to get anything. So I'm very patient. I'm not an impulsive buyer. Personal development and education, different aspect. I'll take a decision there and then. But otherwise, I'm a very patient person in terms of buying, especially big things, right? I want to infuse similar values in my kids as well. And this is subconsciously sometimes infused. If you haven't received something, sometimes you can't give that either. So I'm trying to overcome those notions as well. But coming back to the values, your point, I think I really want them to learn the value of money and savings. But at the same time, whatever you get, you have to give back a certain portion as well. So having comfort in giving back as well. Because we can keep earning. If you don't give back, nature has its way to take it back in one way or the other. So then being street smart, being vocal about what they feel and what they're doing, follow certain practices and ethic. And the younger one just got selected into junior development leagues, which is like representative level cricket, for example. It is like a low level of NPL, we can say. And I see kids swearing at each other, pushing each other. And I don't want to say anything about anyone, but eventually I think it boils down to how, as they say, it's never the fault of kids. There's no bad kids out there. It's only bad parents. So at least telling your kids to do right with others as well. Yes, if you get pushed, you retaliate whatever you want to do, but give a warning, do all the right things. And then if no one listens, sometimes you need that
Yes.
a little bit of a to be given to the kids. Okay, if no one's listening, do what you feel is right. But coming back to values, I think just be persistent in what you do. Don't do things half-heartedly. And I truly believe that if I'm sweeping the floor, I'll do it wholeheartedly. But then would I do that? Then comes how you value your efforts. And I teach my kids the same thing. You can do a $20 job, a $20 an hour job, versus you can take your time. And that's the opportunity you've got, because we had to start the job pretty early because we had to support. You don't have that pressure. So you do what gives you most comfort, satisfaction, and money. So being persistent, value money, and give back.
Now that's very enlightening. And because generally when you build a modern life in Australia, you feel a tension between your modern life and your Sanatan values back in India. Were you able to feel that tension? It's not easy to have a modern life in a very multicultural society. And then you have your Sanatan values as well, your roots that you don't want to be disconnected to. It's very hard to take these two things in balance.
And you're very right there. I felt there was something missing. Once it was Mahashivratri and we didn't even knew. And I ended up just eating meat and all. Eggs is very common. Initially, I never used to eat on Tuesdays. And now sometimes I do. But I felt something was missing always. That satisfaction maybe. So even giving back, I'll always find someone who needs something and I'll contribute there. Off and on, my parents always used to say, the 10th portion of whatever you earn should always go out, which is called daswant.
Daswant, yes.
Right. So
yes.
Maybe I'm not at that still at that level, but back in India, I always used to take that 10th portion out, but I never donated to any charitable organizations. I used to give to someone, like I know someone needs for treatment. I'll pay directly to doctors. I know someone needs food. I'll buy the food and I'll give it myself. Here it's a bit different. I'll donate to the right charitable organizations if I'm aware where the money is going. Now coming back, that satisfaction was missing. And this brings me down to that 8 levels of consciousness that I was talking about. So I actually picked that table and let's have a chat on this in our Sahyogi meetup.
Yes.
So
100%, we need to do that.
Which we do every month on Sunday mornings, right? So the first 3 levels are survival, pleasure and desire, and power and control. So this is where you only think about yourself. And it's very natural. You'll realize when you start to go through these 8 levels that you've gone through this journey, right? And this is also sometimes how we are raised, how our instincts are, how considerate we are towards others. Then comes 4th and 5. 4th is approval and belongingness, right? You start to settle down a bit. 5th is your purpose and self-awareness. And I'm somewhere around that 5 and 6, where you find purpose for your life and you bring awareness to that purpose, right? And then comes growth and contribution is level 6. So once you've secured yourself or stabilized yourself, you start to see what else can you do, where can you add value. And it's very natural progression. And I follow Tony Robbins, and there was a statement said that people take a lifetime to grow from one level to the other. And I reckon in last 10 years that I've been in Australia, I've actually grown past certain levels. This is also where when someone is talking negative about you, don't feel bad. That's how people are. just ignore and move on. And then comes your level 7 and 8, which is wisdom and integration, and then higher consciousness, which is like Sadhguru and all those really sought after people. I don't think I'm ever going to that level, but the point is you're aware that, there are other creatures, and you're aware if you take more, someone else would get less. And this is what brings you back to that consciousness and contribution and giving back. I always wanted to put some business profits towards either planting trees so we can support the environment or give back to a charity. And that's where we met, and I could it clicked. It didn't take time for me to know that this is the thing where I can give back to some extent. And every time now, the Wednesdays, right? So
Right, yes. I
think
see every Wednesday, Ashish ji.
Abhishek said once, he said, we see your name everywhere, but we don't see
We don't
you."
see, yes.
And I told my kids, I said, all days are busy except Wednesdays. I've got 2 hours.
That's why you pick Wednesday.
And I'd like to do the Wednesday and spend some time there. But my elder one said, but we don't see you on other days anyway. So why on Wednesday? I said, so you're saying if I'm back at home early, you'd be sitting with me there on Wednesday. You won't be sitting upstairs. Oh no, I didn't say that. I said, okay, I understand what you're saying. But look, this is where Wednesday is. Now I go there. That I go there for those 10 minutes that I can meditate and sit there, do some chores to support. And it just adds that satisfaction as well, because contribution is never done in terms of money. Contribution is also done in terms of time. So either you give time or you give money, or you give both, basically. So that's what my philosophy is.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, because I see like a lot of people, they come on Monday, Tuesday, over the weekend, because a lot of rituals. And the Sanatan Dharam, that it has actually been seen as rituals. But the way I see it is that it's not just the rituals, it is rituals as well, but it's also about the way you live your life, the honesty, the forgiving nature, helping other, being kind. So it's not just the rituals, these are the other things as well. But in your life, are you more of a ritualistic person, or it's just that you absorb Sanatan Dharma into your way of life?
Look, I'm not much of a spiritual person. I just want to do right by everyone, to get that satisfaction, to meditate. Like I've deep dived into every aspect, like diet, health, well-being, relationships. We read books, we do so much of coaching on business. And there was another learning around 3 years back. What are we doing on relationships? There's one book that is the 5 love languages. So everyone has a different love language, and just by reading that book, I could connect better with my kids. That's where I was saying, you can't sometimes give to others what you haven't received.
That's it, yes.
Now, without deep diving, just saying, by reading that book, I could relate what my kids' love language was, and I could then express that consideration and love in their love language rather than mine. Now, coming back to your point, so look, and I take them to temples. I go to Sikh temple as well. And I think it's just not to just go and have definitely the yummy, the puri halwa,
prasad.
kada prasad and all. But it's also to make sure that, to devote yourself to a higher being out there, and to believe that there is someone who's controlling everything and is doing good for you. And when you are struggling, that there is definitely something good after that struggle. And it is just to foresee that and believe in something that, if you're doing right things, the right things will come to you, of course, at the right time. And that's where I'm very motivated. I'm very growth oriented, and I can push through anything. I run, I push myself on the runs. And I think sometimes in Ayurveda, it says there's different Vat, Pitta and Kapha, right? So they are Pitta people basically who will push through everything. And that's where the more you self-awareness, right? The more you realize what type are you and why you pushing and how your mindset is. That's where I can relate it to spirituality, because I believe in it, and I believe in there's a higher being watching you apart from yourself watching you. Because sometimes, once I think my elder one said, no one is seeing. I said, no, I'm seeing myself.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So, and that's where the same qualities I want my kids to do. Never do wrong by anyone, and right things will come to you. And I think that's just my relation to spirituality, where you do right things by right people, and right things will come to you at right time.
So, by following Sanatan values, how hard is to be a wealthy person in Australia? Can someone, or maybe it's just an advice from you to our young migrants over here, that how can they still be connected to their Sanatan value and roots and still be a wealthy person? I'm sure you have a lot of clients. If I may ask, how many clients do you have?
This is the 6th year just started, and we've served over 330 clients so far.
330 clients. And they all in Australia or outside Australia as well?
So handful are outside of Australia, UK, US, Abu Dhabi, UAE, Singapore, UK, India. So I've got clients there as well, but they're very handful.
And how much wealth have you created for them? Any ballpark value? I know it's hard, 330.
The clients that I served back in 2017-18, I've been working since 2017. You know, when I was made redundant, there was the seed. And that's when I started doing my courses. And I immediately, end of 2017, I was working part-time with the professionals that I was otherwise working with. Look, on an average, I'd say just one property, anyone who's bought in since 2021 with us, just with one property, I've generated easily about $400,000. Recently, today, the client wants to buy their second property after their home. First investment, then home, then coming back to again investment. We bought it for 650. The valuation is $1,050,000. That's $500,000 generated since 2022 and now 3 years.
Right.
So there's been, I'll tell you a handful of clients who are now investing in our developments as well. So the point also is, are you working with someone who's also growing with you?
Yes.
And they can drag you to their level.
Yes.
Right? Otherwise, I've realized myself, I was growing at a better pace than the professionals I was working with. And I wasn't getting the right advice. And sometimes you restrict yourself, because when you are growing, you should find people that can help you scale up to that level, but they're going to cost you a little bit as well. And my notional belief or limitation was, why do I pay that guy more? Because he'll make me more money.
Yes.
Right. So to your point, we've served a lot of clients. We've given a lot of wealth to a lot of people. $2 million. Recently, I was talking to an investor. He's made $1.3 million in equity in his 4 properties that bought through us. And then in our developments, he's made about $1.3 million. And developments is like, you give me 100,000, I can give you back 175 to 180 in about 2.5, 3 years. About 20% cash on cash return every year. And this is where we've got a solution like Resi commercial. Last month alone, for 2 tradie families, we bought 2 properties for $350 and $420K respectively. For a doctor, we've bought a property worth $4 million in Bella Vista. And there's a commercial development ongoing, which is at $6.5 million, would be valued at $11 million in next 2 years. So there's a diverse range, and that's why I'd like to understand where someone is in their journey, right? And this is why anyone can buy property for anyone, but then the value is in the strategy that people work with. Knowing where someone is and how can I take them from point A to point B. So, and I think that's, I believe, where the difference is, because these days, and this is where you also ask the question, how difficult it is to be wealthy in Australia. It's not. But
is there a shortcut?
No shortcut. I wish there was. Look, when I was in IT, right? So I used to wake up at 4 a.m. and I used to read the blogs and comment on the blogs. And I've been a big giver from day one. When I did my PR, I created a WhatsApp group for PR to teach people on how they can do the PRs. There's a client and friend of mine. A migration agent told him, you cannot migrate to Australia. And I said, all right, let's sit, let's talk. And I understood everything. And I said, if you get 8 in IELTS, you get 20 points, and then there's your points, and then I don't see an issue.
Yeah.
And after a month, he said, now I've got 8, now what? And I said, you apply EOI, and this is how you should do it. And he's here.
He's here.
I've helped him buy a couple of properties. I helped him buy a home in North Ride, and
Yes.
he is blessed with now 2 girls. And look, he's grown really well.
Yes.
And the point then is, you invest your time and earn as much as you work. But after a certain point, you start to realize, how can you go from $20 an hour to $100 an hour and to $300 an hour? So that's where the value is. Because if I have a team of 7 at the moment, and again, one can say as a business owner, it's hard, right? The moment you see a balance, there's payroll to be done, there's basis to be done, there's expenses to go here and there, there's contractors to be paid. But I value my team like my family. They're adding value to my business, and I want to add value to their lives as well. So it's not difficult. If you have 7 people really happy and working with you, and let's say they're giving you back, your hour's worth goes up. And this is where sometimes people think I'm rude. I don't respond them on WhatsApp messages. I get random messages saying, by the way, I get some really, really rude messages as well on my posts. I don't want to say anything, but there are people out there who I think who can't take a decision, and they feel anyone who purchases multiple properties is something. But I think if you go past your notions and at least take a decision. So a decision is, any day is good than a no decision. So there's a lot that goes on. I think digressed from one conversation to the other.
Right, now it's fun, yes.
But there's a lot to discuss on topic as well. But overall, the point that you should look at is follow people who have achieved something that you're looking to achieve. And then diligently ask for advice. If you have to pay for advice. But in that process, learn enough so your risk appetite keeps going high. And that's where, like, look, we were talking about a lifetime, right? My first investment property was $275,000. The last development we have picked is market valuation is $18.5 million. At times, excuse my French, I've been shitting my pants because we need a funding of $4 million. But unlike other developers, we are paying back 80% of the returns to investors. So on a 3.8 mil, our profit is 4.5 mil. We're going to give more back to the mom and dad investors. Right? And why? Because I'm trying to change this model as well. A lot of developers will just pay you 12 to 15% a year. Developers will keep 40% of the profits. So because it's hard to find such deals, we're trying to change this as well, because we'd like to grow. We'd like to see our name everywhere. And that's where the stability comes in. But that's where it's that hunger, I'm sure you can see somewhere, that zeal to achieve, to grow, to do more, but it's not greed necessarily. So that's where you have to differentiate with the values that you've got as well. So sorry, I'll just stop here.
No, I think that's good. I think we have to have our Sanatan values so that we don't get distracted by this huge amount of wealth generation as well. If we put our ability and our mind and our wealth into the right direction, and that right direction actually comes from the Sanatan values that we follow.
And you know what? People ask also, have you ever lost anything?
Yes.
So we've just lost about $430,000 on a development. We didn't twitch. We had a call between 3 investors. I've lost 120,000 in that. So, and I said, look, this is where we are. The call was it's not a loss-making investment, but the call was to hold it for another 2 years or put that money somewhere else and make more out of it. So that's where, when you are earning millions, yes, you lose thousands sometimes.
Right. But I think it's because the migrants over here, when I came here as a migrant as well, we can't really afford to lose. But in a practical life, that's a part of it. If you're gonna win, you're gonna lose sometime as well. Or it may be that you start with losing things. But one has to be very motivated, has to be very focused.
Yeah, look, I think every investment, apart from property as well, you see what the downside is and what the upside is. We've made a loss because we've been holding that for last 5.5 years and the market has changed. We still would not make loss. We may make money. Like spending 1.3 million, I reckon we'll walk away with maybe 200-300 on top. But it's not worth it. Like cash on cash return, I'd like to see 75 to 100%. So you see the downside and you see the upside. And when you've got multiple things going, yes, you win some, you lose some. But to your point, you can play safe initially. And once you've generated enough, you have to scale up the game. And if not, all good. You can still keep playing safe. But if you don't, look, if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, you're going to get the same result over and over again. So that's what we're trying to change a little bit.
I think we're pretty much at the end of our podcast. We only have 2 things to ask you. Now, we also know that apart from your busy professional life, you're also a Sahyogi and a director of a Sanatan Dharma Temple as well. Being part of that temple, part of that growing community, has that brought any change in your life?
I don't tell anyone like I'm a director or anything. It's just good that you mentioned, and it's a lot of credit goes to you, to be honest. Look, director or not, I would have been either way, love to be part of what was happening. Assuming that maybe 1,000 people a week go there, I'm sure 10 out of them must be thinking, oh, who's built this? Good thing.
Yes.
I just take pride just in myself. I feel a sense of achievement and belongingness, and yeah, just and that's what I like.
No, it is. I know it's very emotional as well because it's built for the generations to come. And in last 8-9 months, you yourself have seen how many people has come to that temple with so many problems and all that.
Look, my father-in-law was an astrologer. People used to come to him crying, and I never believed in astrology before my marriage. He's told things to people where they were not even aware of what was going on. So there is definitely that science behind what's going on. He's not there anymore. COVID took him away from us. So, but again, think in a way, how many people in a lifetime get an opportunity to be associated to a temple? Yes, we visit the temple occasionally. But having said that, I'm part of something big beyond us. Is something that I take pride in, just even thinking about that. So I think I'm just grateful to be part of that. So that's the other thing. Right opportunities come at right time and you need to grab those. And sometimes people just think, what's in it for me? I was just thinking, just what if we grow big and just having your name associated in many other names, I'm sure. I don't have words. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sometimes I lose
this
words.
is something, I don't think so anyone planned for this thing. This thing, they come on its own, they happen on its own.
And yes, and from there and the Sahyogi meetup and now the podcast. I don't know.
Nothing was planned.
Yes.
Nothing was planned.
And it just things are lining up. And I think, look, kudos to you for that matter, Deepak. And I'm amazed at times. You are so switched on in doing the things. I sometimes don't know how you manage the messaging, how you manage the timing, how you manage everything. Just kudos to you.
I'll tell you the secret.
Yes, please.
Keep a phone. Keep a phone very handy next to you all the time and maintain a diary. That's it.
I can't be on top of my messages. I get like 100 messages in a day. And then your socials, you just can't keep up with stuff. And that's why you asked, right? I'd like to do more, but I'm also exploring how, because at times I struggle with time. And this is where some people think that, Ashish never calls us. Maybe he's too big, maybe he's too rude or whatever. But I think it's just valuing your time. You've got 2-3 hours to spare.
Yes.
Who would you give to? You'd give to someone who would be besides you when you are about to go leave,
Yes.
right? And I think that's where my mentality has changed. You spend time with who you really love, and the rest of the time is just giving back. And when I'm giving back to my clients, they're my family as well. So if someone else is just not contributing, not spending time, and if I then have to think that are they paying clients or they just asking for information, I'll give information, but again, messaging is fine. Anything on calls, I think I have to protect the time, which is with any other professional, I believe.
Now, and I think it's acceptable in the society as well, because you're creating opportunities, you're building security for people, and you have to be really focused in what your goal is, what your aim is, because a lot of people life actually depend on their advisors, and you are one of the advisors.
And spot on. You know what? Just 6 months back, I had like an opportunity where there was $130,000 in the deal. And think you're buying land and building on it, but the market valuation is $130,000 more. I made 10 calls and 9 people said yes. And I knew these investors because, again, talking to so many people, I knew who will never say a no. Everyone jumped in the deal, and just 9 deals done pretty much in a month. And my investors value this as well. So when I get something really lucrative like this, I know what investors or who to go to. So I don't go beyond a small inner circle, but this inner circle I know that they are in that stage 3. So sorry, I split my clients in 3 stages. One, those who are starting out, right, hustling, building wealth and equity. Then comes second, who are now looking to diversify. The risk appetite goes up a bit, maybe looking at commercials instead of residentials. That's where the risk appetite allows. And then there's a third one. Because we've got this cash. Where do we put the cash? I just in one client committed, and he's a very dear friend, $500,000 into a development. And think walking away with putting in 500 in about 2.5 years, walking away with $900,000. And that's the sort of opportunity we bring to the table. There's no way someone would bring that sort of opportunity on the table. So why would I go to someone who will ask 20 odd questions and won't even understand what I'm bringing to them? That's where I remember we discussed to grab the opportunity. Why you have to be in a position to assess all of those things. So yeah, just so you are very spot on that those opportunities you take to the right people. And at the right time. So, yeah.
So now we're basically at the end. Now, as a successful buyer agent, a property developer, a co-founder of a temple, if there is a young Ashish sitting in front of you who's carrying the pressure of his family or his parents or hustling with the bad job or bad business, what kind of advice will you give it to him?
First of all, I'm no one to give any advice. I'll definitely add some recommendations. One, I think as migrants, we have gone through a lot. Don't put your kids to the same pressure. There's a friend who once said, my kid says he want to become a plumber. And I said, wow, you know how much plumbers earn? So, coming to a young Ashish, look, I suggest get into that savings habit early. Enjoy as well, but don't over save or don't over enjoy. Find a balance. Focus on health, well-being, because without the health, all that money is worth nothing. All that wealth is nothing. Diet, well-being, relationships, and once you've sorted these 4 things, wealth comes by itself. So follow your heart, what gives you satisfaction. Some people are very mindset and finance driven, some are very heart driven. Nothing wrong with anyone. follow your heart, but if you are finance oriented and just pushing to the next level like me, find where you can add value and don't worry about what you earn initially. I've had the opportunity to mentor a lot of young people, and I think we can't go past the fact that I'm getting paid $15 an hour versus $30 an hour. So understand, if you're being paid $15 an hour, are you able to spend time with someone whose time's way beyond or worth way beyond than your time, and you're getting the learnings which will help you scale up to that next level way sooner than others. So learn, implement, get the right advice from right people, and don't follow every average Joe out there, because that's the thing with advice. Everyone has got one, but then you have to be selective to understand who you listen to. So that's the only thing I'd say, because I've just been fortunate to hear the right people. And as they say, you're the average of 5 people you hang around with. And I've broken some friendships because I feel these people were dragging me back, or they were very negative. My team, I always tell them, don't drag me back. I need people who can push me further. The moment I hear, you know what, relax, you've done enough. And I don't like these statements.
Yes, 100%. I can relate that.
So yeah, just hang around with the right people. And look, for all that matter, just we have that 1 hour drink sessions as well. Come along.
Come on Friday.
Yes, Fridays, 3:30 p.m. Norwest. Just search for my office address, and we've got Coke, we've got wine, we've got Scotch, and we've got water. So yeah.
Ashish ji, thank you so much for sharing this openly. What really stands out from this is that the journey is not easy, but it is possible.
Look, Deepak, I'd really like to thank you. I don't think I've ever got an opportunity to thank you just for even considering me a small part of such big initiative. But yeah, just and keep going with what you're doing. You're amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. And to the people, this is not just your story. This is their story as well. Because success is live within inside. It's not outside. You have to see inside of yourself, and you'll find success over there. With that, thank you very much. We'll see you next time.
Amazing. Thank you to you. Thank you to everyone listening. Thank you to 24 Pots.
24 Pots.
And
Alka ji.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.